All right, let's dive into one of the most famous and maybe one of the most misunderstood stories ever told. We're going to look at Genesis 1, but probably not in the way you're used to. So forget the whole science textbook debate for a minute. Let's try to see this chapter the way its original audience would have, as a stunning blueprint for a universe built on order and purpose. Let's start with this one big question. What if the whole point of this ancient text wasn't to give us a scientific play-by-play of cosmic origins? What if instead it was answering a much deeper question, a question about design, about function, and about meaning? Once you make that little shift in perspective, the entire story just opens up in a whole new way. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at what was going on before the beginning to get our key players straight. Then we'll see the initial problem, a world that's basically an unfinished project. After that, we'll watch how that world gets its structure, how that structure gets filled with life, and finally, why the whole finished product is called very good. To really get this story, you have to start with the language. The first few words of Genesis basically set the entire stage. They tell us exactly who is acting and, just as importantly, how they're acting. The first character on the scene is Elohim. Now, this isn't just a personal name, it's a title, one that screams power, sovereignty, authority. Think about other ancient creation stories. They're usually full of gods fighting, scheming, battling for control. But this one, it starts with one single, unopposed creator who was already there before anything else existed. That's a huge, radical statement to make right out of the gate. So what does Elohim do? He creates. But the word used here is super specific. It's the Hebrew verb bara. And get this, in the entire Hebrew Bible, this word is only ever used with God as the one doing it. No human ever baras anything. So right from the first sentence, creation is framed as a deliberate, divine act of intention. It's not an accident, and it's not the result of some cosmic war. It's pure, focused will. Okay, so we've got our intentional creator ready to go. But what's the starting condition? What's the raw material here? Well, the text presents it as a problem that the rest of the story is going to solve step by step. The world is described with this amazing Hebrew phrase, tohu vavohu. It means formless and empty. And this is so crucial to get right. This is not a description of some evil, demonic chaos. It's much more like a painter's blank canvas, or a sculptor's raw, uncarved block of marble. It isn't bad, it's just unfinished. It's pure potential, waiting for the artist to get to work. So how do you solve the first part of that problem, the formless part? Well, the first 3 days of Creation Week are all about one powerful idea, creating order and structure by making distinctions, by separating things. And you can see the solution laid out perfectly here. The main tool God uses is separation, the Hebrew word badal. On day 1, the undefined darkness gets separated into light and darkness. On day 2, the big, messy blob of water gets separated into sky above and sea below. And on day 3, the water-covered world is separated into sea and dry land. You see, order is created by drawing lines and setting boundaries. And this isn't just happening randomly. There's this beautiful, deliberate rhythm to it all. Each stage kicks off with a command, and God said. Then comes the action. Then God steps back, looks at the work, and calls it good, which means it's working, it's fit for its purpose. Then he gives it a name, which defines its function, and the day closes. It's methodical, it's poetic, it's intentional. Okay, so the world has form now. It has architecture, but it's still empty. It's like a beautifully designed house with no furniture and nobody living in it. So now we move on to the next 3 days, and we see how this blueprint gets filled with life and purpose. Now, before we hit day 4, you've got to put on your ancient world hat for a second. For the original audience reading this, the sun and the moon were not just big lights in the sky. No way. They were major deities, gods like Ra in Egypt or Shamash in Mesopotamia. They were powers you had to worship and fear. But then, look at what Genesis does. It's kind of sneaky and totally radical. It doesn't even use their common names. It just calls them the greater light and the lesser light. By refusing to even name them as gods, the text is intentionally knocking them off their pedestals. This is a massive theological statement. And this is the mic drop moment. In the Genesis blueprint, the sun and moon are not gods you have to worship. They are simply tools. They are functional objects created to serve the earth, to mark time, seasons, days, and years. They're basically just cosmic clocks. And this whole filling process follows this stunningly elegant logic. It perfectly mirrors the first 3 days. So on day 4, the realms of light and dark from day 1 are filled with the sun, moon, and stars. On day 5, the skies and seas from day 2 are filled with birds and fish. And on day 6, the dry land from day 3 is filled with animals and, finally, us. The empty spaces are now bursting with light. Now, at the very pinnacle of this creation is humanity. And this is where Genesis makes another claim that would have shocked its original readers. See, in most other ancient stories, humans were created to be slaves for the gods, to do all the dirty work. But here, humans are given this incredible mission. First, be fruitful and fill the earth. Second, subdue it, which doesn't mean dominate and destroy, but to cultivate it, to unlock its potential. And third, to rule as God's representatives, as responsible stewards and caretakers over the whole amazing system. So the structure is built, the rooms are all filled, and now we come to the final assessment, the final inspection of the whole completed project. At the end of day 6, the evaluation gets an upgrade. It's not just good anymore. Now it's tov me'od, very good. And this isn't just like saying, oh, that's nice. This is more like an engineering term. It means the entire system is complete. All the parts are interconnected, and it's all functioning exactly as it was designed to. Everything works together in perfect harmony. So, those 2 big problems we started with, they're completely solved. The problem of being formless was fixed with structure and separation. The problem of being empty was fixed by filling those structures with function and life. The end result is a complete, dynamic, and perfectly working system. And all of that leaves us with this one final thought to chew on. This ancient blueprint describes a cosmos that isn't a random, chaotic accident, but an intentional system designed for life to flourish under careful management. So the question for us is, what changes in how we live, how we see our world, and how we treat it if we start to see it through that same lens?